Welcome back, viewers. Sunrise proudly brought to you by Paba Cosmetics, Ice Cool, and Tigo. Smile, you got Tigo. Today, 24th of December, the year of our Lord, 2012. Tomorrow is Christmas Day. 24th night. I always remember that this is the time or the period that you see all those who would want to quickly get back to their hometown or their destinations for Christmas rushing down to get there. And this is the time that you can see drivers that are very disciplined trying to apply the rules of the game, and whilst those who are not disciplined really want to ambush, short circuit, jumpstart, and achieve good money at the expense of life. In the studio to look at road safety and the conditions, what they have done to ensure that we have safe road network is Rudolph Beckley. Rudolph Beckley is the Deputy Director, Research, Monitoring and Evaluation, and also the Acting Greater Accra Regional Manager of the National Road Safety Commission. Rudolph, you're welcome to Sunrise.
Thank you, brother.
Rudolph trying to take advantage of the huge traffic at the various stations. If I should have to ask with you, the first, how are you trying to make sure that 2012 accidents on our roads reduced?
Thank you very much for the opportunity this morning, and I want to say good morning to our valued viewers. It is true, and data at the National Road Safety Commission also tells us that the month of December is a very problem month for us. Why? Because of the issue of Xmas and the New Year. Around this time, there is an increase in demand for travel, and for this increase is always being met by a lot of issues. Number one, this demand has a temptation of being met by even vehicles that are not in a very good condition or in a very good road state. This demand for increases in demand for transport has a temptation of being met by unqualified drivers. What must we do? We must put in systems that ensures that this increases in demand for transport does not attract these kind of problems and ensures that safety is not compromised.
Safety is not compromised. Now, with your design, how far do you want to reduce road traffic accidents?
Thank you very much. Earlier in the year, we gave ourselves a target of reducing fatalities by the end of December in 2012 by 23%. And we also, within the plan or action plan, agreed that from the month of December to the end of January 2013, we're going to intensify our efforts in ensuring that we nip the problems of crisis in the bud, especially around this time. What have we been able to do?
Yes, what have you been able to do?
On the 18th of December, just about last week, Tuesday, we put the regulators and operators of public transport together. When I'm talking about regulators, I'm talking about the Road Safety Commission, the police, MTTU, and the DVLA. We put all operators of public passenger transport together. Metro Mass Transit, GPRTU, ProTour, ISTC, MMT, Great Imperial, all of them were put together, and we adopted a plan of action. Collectively.
So it means that it's a collective responsibility.
Exactly. We did not sit anywhere and threw it onto them. No. We had a roundtable discussion where we adopted that plan of action. The key point or the high points of that plan of action are 4 key things: speeding, overloading, fatigue driving, and alcohol. So therefore, this plan of action is hinged on these 4 key things.
4 key things. And these are the very important ones.
Correct.
Now let me quickly jump to the first one.
Correct.
The first on my heart is alcohol.
Good.
How do you ensure that drivers, these people that you put together, will respect no drink, no driving?
Thank you very much. What we have done, and which we agreed upon at that meeting, was for the terminal operators themselves. When I say the terminal, I'm talking about the station operators themselves, to on their own acquire alcohol meters, so that every driver who is exiting the station is tested of alcohol. When that is done, the regulators have also formed what we call a task force. We have a task force that is made up of the DVLA, the Road Safety Commission, and then the police MTTU. From the 18th of December up to yesterday, we were visiting each station. We started with Tudu, where in addition to looking at the condition of the vehicle, we even test the driver of alcohol. That is not enough, because we believe that if you test the driver of alcohol at a station and he records 0, what are the chances that in transit he will not take alcohol? So therefore, what we have done is that there are policemen dotted along all the stretches. So therefore, we have mobile equipment. The police who are within the team, they have mobile equipment, and they call their colleagues, telling them that this particular vehicle has exited the station. Monitor, stop him along the line, and check alcohol. This is what we've been able to do. And I must say that on the issues of alcohol, of all the drivers that we've tested randomly, over 35 of them, not even a single one of them recorded any.
They knew you were coming to the station.
They did not. No, they did not, because we went there unannounced. But then the beauty of it is that it tells you that the operators of public transport on their own are embarking on self-enforcement at the various local stations on alcohol. I'm not talking about other issues.
Yes.
I'm talking about.
I am staying on the alcohol.
Correct.
I'm staying
so
on the
for alcohol, I think we have had a lot of good inroads where the driver on his own has come to that sense of realization that no, it is better he stays off alcohol, looking at the dangers associated with it. And I think that is beautiful, because even the records are there. We have the records, everything. The police tested over 30, not a single one. We started from Tudu, went through CMB, ended up at a Neoplan station, not a single driver. And I think we are quite happy with the issue of alcohol.
I know that our drivers can be very smart. If they see officers come in, and I know that you communicate with the officers, and they are in league with their officers, because the drivers drink with their so-called officers you call at the very same stations. But then they will tell them that my people are coming. They are coming to test for alcohol. Yes. So if you know you have drunk, please stand aside. So they'll give you 35 people who don't drink.
The point is that we go to the stations unannounced. So the station managers also didn't even know that we were coming. To the extent that they were angry that we could have given the prime information. I said, look, that is not the essence of the exercise. The essence of the exercise is to appear on you and find out whether you are complying with what we had agreed upon at the meeting. So it was not like they knew we were coming. No, none of them knew.
Now 35 drivers. 35 drivers randomly picked. It forms about what percentage of the general driving population?
Well, for me, I would say it forms quite an insignificant number of the total number of drivers. But at least when you're talking about a random check and you take that number within a small period of time, and out of that number, not even a single one of them recorded anything, it's quite appreciable. What we have to do is to rather encourage them.
Now, how do you sustain this? Because how do you sustain that?
To sustain that, we are not going to end this unannounced visits. It's going to be something that we're going to do weekly till even the whole of the next year, so that when they know that yes, officials have taken it upon themselves to be visiting, they will be in that particular mood that we have also seen. In addition to that, we have also encouraged other operators of public transport to also invest in these basic enforcement checks, like buying alcometers and letting the driver know that it's a responsibility unto himself and unto the environment he's operating within.
How many of the stations you visited had bought the alcometers themselves?
The GPRTU, Tudu station, have bought an alcometer. Great Imperial Transport Company, they have bought. VIP have bought. Neoplan station, they haven't. But then they have made a request to us that they will be glad if you could facilitate the procurement of those.
Buy it for them, or they pay for it?
They do pay for it. So we have types of alcometers.
Exactly. So they wanted to get a standard one. They wanted to get a good one.
Exactly. And it's the reason they are asking us to help them procure that. I think it's a welcome use.
That's right. Yeah. Now let us move from there. So from alcohol, now let's move to fatigue.
Yes.
Driver fatigue.
Correct.
How do you design driver fatigue?
Let us not forget that around this time, a driver will have the temptation, because of the increases in demand for transport, a driver will have the temptation of going on 2, 3, 4 trips in a day. Yeah. And that plays a very significant role on fatigue. What we have designed is that earlier, I think about 2-3 years, we developed and implemented what we call a logbook scheme. Now, this logbook simply means that the driver, before he embarks on a journey, logs his journey. So the time he embarks on a journey is logged. The law makes it abundantly clear that on no condition can a driver drive for 4 hours without taking a rest. So it is in the law. It's clear-cut in the law.
Yeah.
Now, so when this driver logs the journey time, and he is on a journey, let's say, for example, from Accra to Kumasi, on average, a driver should be able to make it 6 hours. So on that journey, if the driver does not pull to a stop anywhere and gets to Kumasi, then it means that he's not been able to rest. And that is an infraction of the law. So what we have been able to do is that we have policemen along the line. All they do is to request for the logbook to see when the driver embarked on the journey and to see what time the driver will arrive at that point that he was checking. And when you if you look at it, do the calculation, you can be able to determine whether the driver.
You sure the drivers will not massage the time?
The beauty of it is that it's not only the driver who logs in. The station manager who is allowing this driver to exit the station also logs. Also logs, exactly.
Yeah.
The logbook is not a state of the art kind of thing that we need to implement. The new law that we have put into the system talks about a tachograph, and tachograph is a more automated kind of device that cannot be tampered with. And therefore, we are moving now onto a regime of tachograph. But until the tachograph issue comes in, the logbook
is holding it.
Exactly,
holding
to hold the situation.
Right. Now you have the driver exiting New Plant Station.
Yes.
He logs in 0805.
Correct.
And then he gets to Kumasi. How would you ensure that the driver would have to rest?
Yes,
the 30 minutes.
Well, from Accra to Kumasi, there is a rest stop. Fortunately, we have Lindado as a rest stop.
Yeah.
Now, by the time you move out of the Accra, Achimota, and Sawon traffic, you might have clocked over 2-3 hours already.
Yeah.
Which implies that by the time you get to that Lindado place, you have clocked over 4 hours. So therefore, you just pull in rest and take about 15-20 minutes rest, stretch, move around, stretch your limbs, and go back on a journey. If you observe, if you've been on that stretch, you realize that a lot of the vehicles terminate at that point.
A lot of the organized vehicles. I will use the word organized because a lot of the vehicles that you're talking about would be the VIP, the Imperial, and then the STC.
Correct.
These are organized systems. So they would lock there. They would go and rest there. But I'm now looking at the Ford buses.
Correct.
They would want to go to Kumasi and come 5 times in a day.
And I'm happy you appreciate the problem in this dimension. If we are looking at protecting the larger numbers of people, and we have been able to make a lot of inroads in the great Imperials, in the VIPs who carry the larger numbers of people, and I think we are doing a lot. Because those are the people where, if a crash occurs, we lose a lot number of them.
So I think a crash. You see, the point is that
concentrating on the larger buses, first of all, because they are our worry.
Yes.
Once there is a crash, we record larger numbers of fatalities. So therefore, once we concentrate on them and they buy into this, with the smaller ones, yes, the regulation is such that they must also comply. That is why we are using and the smaller ones come a lot of times from the GPRTUs and from the Pro Tours. If you go to any Pro Tour station today, the law has come to stay. They have insisted that they must pull to a rest stop. A lot of them also complain about, not enough rest stops on the stretches, and we agree that even on Accra Kumasi stretch, it's only Lindado.
Sure.
Exactly. So therefore, we are encouraging private investment
to come in
and
make investment here and create the rest stops. Because you force the drivers to rest there.
Exactly. Because the point is that apart from Accra Kumasi stretch, other stretches do not have any recognized rest stop, and therefore, if you're asking the driver to pull at a stop, security of the passengers is also an issue we have to contend with. Exactly. So therefore, we are looking at creating those facilities. Then we can encourage them to pull to a stop.
Now let me quickly run to the next one. The next one, that's a very important one, is about the condition of the vehicle.
Correct.
The condition of the vehicle. Worn out tires.
Yes.
Worn out tires.
Our
Blue lights.
Yes.
Defective lights systems. And then some of the vehicles, when it rains, it is just like you have to hold an umbrella
in a vehicle. Again, as I mentioned earlier, the action plan we put together looks into the area critically of the condition of the vehicle. The condition of the vehicle, the tire condition, the vehicle conspicuity.
The important one is the tire.
Exactly.
You burst the tire and then the vehicle will swerve and move into the other lane and then meet the oncoming vehicle. Yes. And then there is a huge problem.
From the 19th of December to yesterday when we were doing the task force exercise, from Tudu through CMB to New Plant to VIP, we have been able to impound, or we were able to impound close to over 50 vehicles. Those vehicles we did not allow to move out of the station. We picked them and sent them to the MTT. Why?
That's a good message.
Yes. Why? Because the tires were so defective, the tires were so worn out that we couldn't see those vehicles loading passengers and exiting the station without us doing anything. So no. So therefore the police, and I must say a big thank you to ACP Awuni, who was in charge of the enforcement within the task force. He insisted that those vehicles be impounded and taken to the MTTU. If you
so were they taken to the MTTU?
If you visit the MTTU station right now, the place is full of vehicles because of those vehicles that we have impounded. And if I think that's, and we are going to even continue that exercise today, to the extent that vehicles are so worn out in terms of the tires. The tire condition is so bad. We went to a New Plant station and there was this big bus, this U-turn big bus. The passengers were ready to move, and then we got there, only to realize that the tires at the back, the two, were all worn out. And we insisted that this particular vehicle
should not leave here.
And once we are doing that, we don't inconvenience the passengers. We make sure that the station manager provides another vehicle, and we offload the passengers onto those vehicles and take this vehicle out of the station, because we don't want to inconvenience any passenger around this time. So these are the kind of things we've been able to do.
So why are you worried about inconveniencing? Because it is better to inconvenience the passenger than to put the passenger on the vehicle and go through the vehicle.
You see, the point is this: with the reason I'm talking about the inconvenience is that the passenger has paid for a service. We have come in and said, look, the very device that is going to provide the service is faulty, and therefore you cannot go on it. to be fair to the passenger, you need to provide an alternative.
An alternative.
Exactly, and that is exactly what we did.
Lovely.
So that you know
what happens to the station officers who saw this bad tie one, or they don't know?
Is it
one out tie?
I think one of the issues in terms of our regulation is to begin some sanctions over these station managers.
Yes.
Because if you have convinced us that everything on the ground is okay, and we come to the station to see that those kinds of things, then it means that no, you are either trying to be deceptive or something. So therefore, this is the time you have to look in the area of sanctions, sanctioning those public transport operators whose fleets of vehicles are not in a condition that is worthy of a journey. And that is exactly what we're going to do.
That is exactly what I was trying to look
so
at.
So those sanctions are going to come.
Yes. And I know that tomorrow I will bring you back here, and we will still be looking at these very issues and make sure that the other conditions that you had really mapped out to ensure that there is good road safety conditions come to stay for 2013. Rudolph, it's a great pleasure having you in the studio. Sunrise, I've been talking to Rudolph Beckley, who is the acting Greater Accra Regional Manager of the National Road Safety Commission, and also the Deputy Director of Research Monitoring and Evaluation of the National Road Safety Commission.